Sponsor a child from the Dogon villages today. They are the future healers, leaders and preservers of Kemetic traditions. Just like Prophet Nebnaba, these children of the Earth Center and our network of healers are being educated in local schools in addition to their indigenous cultural practices and traditions. This comprehensive education both positions them to inherit the work of their forefathers and mothers and continues bridging the gap between traditional and modern societies. So go ahead, support, find out more about our campaigns and donate by going to www.theearthcenter.org. Thank you.
Ujjayi, and welcome to the Wisdom of the Nile show. And Ujjayi is greeting in the Kemetic language, and Duao is thanks. I'm going to want to say thank you all for your listening ears to the Wisdom of the Nile show. And my co-presenter, co-guest.
Ujjayi is Kasati Hekama. Ujjayi, everyone.
Ujjayi, actually. And my name is Nehibsa Nesibik. And as I said, we are your hosts for tonight's show, and we're here representing the Earth Center. First of all, we want to kind of say acknowledge the divine world. And when we say the divine world, we're not talking about one God. It's a world of many gods. And so they are the ones really that's actually created the existence. So for those really who still believe that there's just one person, one individual that created all this, be rest assured that within the Kemetic teaching there is more than one, there's many. And we also want to acknowledge the ancestors, those who paved the way for us, really. Our ancestors are the ones that actually make it to the world of the dead. And that's what we're trying to achieve in our lifetime here now, to make it to that, to get to the next stage. And our ancestors are the ones who, they're given the powers really, right, to assist us really in our needs. They're the ones that actually negotiated our destinies for us really, and they are the ones that's there continually guiding us really, pushing us in the direction that we need to go into, as many of us do go astray. You want to head on to that? Okay. And we want to also acknowledge Master or Prophet Nebnaba, the Musa Morandenevig, for bringing us the knowledge of the Earth Center. We also want to say a big dua to Nebnaba Irita, our teacher, who has continued the work of his father, and it's much appreciated and it's much needed in the world now. In this present climate that we're going through, it's always needed, it always has been, but we can see that gradually we're becoming more falling into the abyss. So it's time for us to try to recover. We also want to extend our gratitude to Bless, right, for giving us this platform. We say dua for him, and if for any reasons you might want to create a dialogue with us, and the studio number is 07944431366, and that's the number that you can either phone in or text in on. So as I would say, I know many people are listening and probably a bit shy sometimes to phone in, so I would say just brave it out really today, or or whatever. What would you say?
Yeah, it's a talk show, so the line is there, so bring it on.
Yeah, we would as well appreciate your interaction really, it's to see like another side of the coin, because there are many sides to the coin, really. It's not just two sides, as many people do believe that. Before we go into the show, it's just something that like a current affair event really, but it was a Gambian man. His name is Osman Toure, and he was given a scholarship really, right, to go to the Europe and USA to study, but he rejected it. And he was quite blunt but firm in his reasons really, like why he did so. Because he said we rely on, like, say, the Western world, like, for everything, and those things they're not working. And we hear Master Naba has said that on many occasions, really, that, you know, it's not working, you know. And so he believed in that. Whatever if he was to go to the West, he's seen many of our, so-called educated scholars come to the West, and what they've brought back onto the continent, really, as he said, it's not working. It's not everything that we learn here in the West that we can actually take back on the motherland, and it's actually going to do justice, because a lot of things was not designed for there. It was actually designed for them here, you know, and so we have to be mindful of what we come and take and bring back. And, you know, he's a Pan-Africanist because he believes in doing self-reliance, because he observed, right, that there are many countries in Africa now, you know, that's doing good things. And, you know, what we just need to be doing is to basically observe, you know, when someone is doing something good, and try to learn from them and embrace and celebrate in their achievements, you know. And he believed in himself, right, that if all of our educated scholars or people really that actually leave to go to the West, then that's another form of where there's depletion, really, you know, because that's what's happening in the Caribbean and in a lot of other countries where
it's a draining. It's a draining of people
it's a saturation,
resources.
really, isn't it?
No, it's a draining of people resources.
Yeah.
Just like natural resources from the land,
Yeah.
they drain the people.
And really, progress is made elsewhere, except where those people reside, and their families and everything are suffering. And even, you know, medical, we see anything happen, they have to run here to the West. So, you know, as I said, he believes in himself that we should invest back into Africa. You know, he was looking at examples like what took place in Rwanda, and now Rwanda now basically has come like one of the fastest developing country in the world now. You know, so there are a lot of examples that we can look to, and you know, one of the things he said that to do your papers, it's about observation. So why not observe what's going on your own land around you and develop it from there? You know, so it was quite positive, that really, I found, really. Not that we're saying that coming to the West for education is anything wrong with that, but we have to be mindful that there is going to be that depletion if everybody want to run to the West, really, you know. Yes. So, do you want to... You know,
Well, add to what you just said.
Yeah, you know, what do you think about is you know, I mean, many people like in his position would you know, they would want to come to the West, really, like an open opportunity in it, because they believe.
It depends on what your ambitions are. If your ambitions are to build up your country, to see better for the youth in your country, then some will come and then go back with the knowledge that they've received. Some will stay because they know that the knowledge is already there anyway.
But
So
the entrapment, though, when you come here, you know...
the entrapment is always materialism, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's it.
And that
they were going to offer them
ultimately...
something. If they see that they're good at what they're doing, they're going to be offering them things to stay.
That's right. That's always going to be the carrot dangling. But ultimately, the people in America are richer than the people in the West, because richness is not always about material wealth. Well, it is never about material wealth anyway. So many who come to the West to learn and go back to their countries and build up, that is the type of individuals that we would want to see. But those who leave their homes and come to the West and never look back, then that's not a good thing, as you know. And the West have constantly always drained indigenous countries of their best people.
That's right.
whether it's in the sciences,
Whichever in it.
whatever field it may be. This is what they've always done, and exploited that as well.
I mean, when we look at our parents, well, I mean, them who actually came here when they did back in the so-called Windrush era and beyond that they had a 5-year plan, didn't they?
Yeah, most of them came here for a while, but as soon as they started having children, children started going to school, it became more and more difficult. As well as they started purchasing their homes through mortgages, so they set up a foundation. And unfortunately, it's not until probably their children have left school or university that they may then be in a position to leave and go back home. Many have done so, but the majority haven't.
Right.
So it's the entrapment, as well as the economic deprivation that their homes now have gone into. So, for instance, in Jamaica, when our parents left Jamaica, Jamaica had industries, and now I can't even think of one industry that is in Jamaica that is being managed by Jamaicans, and the money going back into Jamaica.
Well, something simple
So-
like bottled water. I was surprised that Jamaica has a lot of water there, but yet their water is coming from, is it Trinidad or one of them islands them there?
Jamaica has a lot of bottled water, but they also import a lot of bottled water, but they do also bottle their own. But yeah, they're also importing, which is not a good thing. But yeah, so the industries in Jamaica has actually gone, but very much like the industries in Britain.
In Europe, yeah. In Britain, yeah.
We know growing up, there were major industries here.
But it was a country of
And,
industrialization, wasn't it?
Yeah, and now there's not much made in Britain anymore. You're not seeing that stamp on many things anymore. So anyway, yes, when they are taking the youth away from their homeland and leaving just the elderly in rural communities, it's not going to work. So, for instance, I know in Italy, in Spain, in the rural communities, they're actually paying people to come back and live.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're paying the youth to come back and live in their communities because they need to replenish it with
The young
with
knowledge, bringing it
mhm.
forward, because they are the
So,
future, really,
that's
isn't it?
right.
And if all the young people abandon their homelands,
Then there's
they-
nothing left. It's just the elderly. So there's parts of Spain that are doing that. So it would be good if other governments across the world, because they have the money. I mean, I think that in regards to Merita in Africa, they need to stop paying these loans because they have the money in order to build up their countries, but all that money is going back into these illegal loans that from the IMF and the World Bank. So they do have the finances, they have the natural resources to build the finance to restart back, regenerate many of the communities where the youngsters have left. So yeah, it's a struggle, but it's can happen.
Yeah, and that's why I said that that young man there, really, right, he was like an example, really, like, of how we should be looking and thinking about certain choices and things that we make.
Yeah, and originally as well, also the intelligence and the ingenuity of our people is still high. It always has been, and this is why they target the black youth, especially the boys in the schools in the West, because they see how more intelligent they are, so they start the dumbing down process. And then they've got that pipeline from school to prison.
Which is another
going
industry.
on.
Isn't it?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
it's like a place like America, they now really, right, it's just obvious there, because there's some statistic that well, about 70% of what's manufactured over there really is done in the prison by these young youths that they are
So they've got slave
incarceration.
labor going on
Yeah.
now, big time,
Mm.
and many of them youth, they're happy because they got a roof over their head and they're getting their food paid for and cooked
Mm.
on a daily. But this is the
What is that what to look
aspirations.
for?
Well, this is what this is the society that we find ourselves living in, isn't
Yeah.
there? So yeah, but anyway, we arrived late to the show, so we need
Yeah.
to start the show, please. Nahib sir.
As we go into today's show, you know, and you know, it coincides with what we were just saying, really. You know, when we take a look, you know, at what's happening in the modern world now, all we can see is like chaos and destruction, really.
So the
And
title of the show is what?
yeah, we're going to be coming into that. The title of the show, which is is reclaiming the principles of Mahat. And what are the principles? Yeah. So, you know, as we say, we've been led with no real order. There's no real kind of order for humanity. And as we're saying, there is no Mahat involved in what the society is actually, modern society actually offers now. So we want to first, you know, who and what is Mahat really, because we hear, or many people might have heard of Mahat. Mahat is the goddess of the elements.
The Kemetic goddess, Neter.
You know, of the cosmic harmony and of truth, justice, and moral integrity. She's also the goddess of
harmony, order, reciprocity, justice, truth. I think you said some of that already.
And balance.
And balance.
Yeah. And so, you know, there are principles really that forms the human being, into becoming what he should be, you know.
He or she.
He or she was. So Mahat, she is connected to the entire existence of the universe, and she's not limited to the constraint of human ethics. Yeah. She is a crucial goddess to the deceased reaching paradise. Mahat brings the newly arrived souls to the judgment hall of Ra and Wusa. That is like the judgment hall.
So for those who are not familiar with Kemetic cosmogony, the judgment hall is where one goes once you've deceased, and you go and your spirit is weighed, your heart is weighed against a feather, and if your heart is as light as a feather, then you live on through eternity in the world of the gods. Now, the feather is termed as a feather of Mahat. So this is where the laws of the principles of Mahat comes from, and this is what one is judged on. And people in the Bible will hear that term, if your heart is as light as a feather. This is where it's come from the Kemetic cosmogony. As Ma'at is the balance.
Yeah.
It's a symbolism of balance.
Yeah. And you know, she's associated with the negative confession, you know, as she is the goddess of truth and justice. As we just said there, she's the goddess of balance. We can see like the Statue of Liberty, and you know the scale that is it what's the god what's her name? Or the Statue of Liberty? There was a name for her. Yeah, and basically though that scale that she's actually holding is on balance, and so just by looking at that alone, in the principle of Mahat, we're looking for balance. on that scale, it's showing you imbalance. And when we go to the High Court over here, which is what they call like the Whole Bailey, you will see that statue or that symbol there. And so when you know you go in there, don't expect really, right, to be coming out with justice, really. It's not the way that this system kind of actually operates. They are a law unto their own, you know, and the principles of Ma'at really, you know, it's quite apparent really, right? That's, you know, there's no way that they're actually following any of those principles there really, and hence why we see destruction and self-destruction within our societies. And we're going to play you this music from Janai. It's
To each his own, each man stands alone. We each must bring a sacrifice or an offering, and what we pay will be weighed when we meet our judgment day. So keep it light as a feather and fly away. These days it seems that everyone is on some twisted mission to make a great impression, to boost their likes and ratings, faking friendships just to get ahead. As jaded as the walking dead, becoming the norm as corruption spread. But truth is always waiting. Much of what we've been taught to love or fear are just moments on the journey here. We must choose what we keep or let go. Believe what you're told, or seek and but know. To each his own, each man stands alone. We each must bring a sacrifice or an offering, and what we pay will be weighed when we meet our judgment day. So keep it light as a feather and fly away. Enough of them claim them righteous, to them say I call no meat. Very little salt or sweet, true them fit and full of intelligence with great confidence just speak. But we say them secretly full of fear and so hopelessly unaware of how a loving heart and peaceful thoughts keep the conscience clear. So we say caution to the scornful, your pride is gonna be a downfall. Be humble when you're corrected, receive it willingly and be grateful, because the result of one is expected to use to effectively govern decision. So without the long-term planning and precision, you ready for the mission? To each his own, each man stands alone. We each must bring a sacrifice or an offering, and what we pay will be weighed when we meet our judgment day. So keep it light as a feather and fly away. From the social drama, from the theaters of war, from the minstrel show karma, into full bloom and power. I am a pillar of strength, firm at the core. I and I sisters and brothers will endure. What we represent together is concentrated, pure, unselfish, raw, creation, law, order divine, 0 to 9.
Ojai, that was Janai and Ma'at, each man. And Mahatini Kasati here is going to be reading from the Philosophy Podium, book written by Ned Naba, the Musa himself, Murndedabig himself. And yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this chapter is entitled The End of the World, question mark. The reality of human nature is not as mysterious as we like to believe. We just have to pay attention. We know that we want to live eternally. Our daily struggle can be summarized as so many searches for means to maintain this fragile balance of forces that make life our most precious commodity. If we widen the dimensions of our reality, we can observe that despite our intention to live and to perpetuate this life, we have never succeeded in raising ourselves above all the other species. We can also observe that only our arrogance causes us to label other animals as inferior. We, like all the other animals, react only to threats that we are capable of perceiving. We jump into a well and drown if we perceive the fire surrounding us as capable of killing us. We run towards a hungry lion that we don't know, that we don't see if a snake is chasing us. We would even go to the point of eating a meal we know to be poisoned if we believe that we are dying of hunger. This is just a bit of what a human being really is. The reality of human nature is simply insulting to our illusion of what we are. We can say, without any risk of being wrong, that it is our obstinate attachment to this life that makes us the most mortal and the most destructive beings. If these few lines seems to oversimplify and so insult human nature, then let us place a human being in his or her cosmic dimensions. Human beings possess prophetic talents that are mysterious even to us, all because we refuse to face ourselves. We are all ready to recognize our capability to project ourselves into the future, but we also know that if we paid attention to the logic on which we base our ability to predict the times to come, we would advance straight towards demystification of our nature. We would then stop impressing ourselves and those who prefer to evolve through their emotions instead of their reasoning. Here are some of the facts to which we adopt an emotional approach. It is our experience of yesterday and today that allows us to state confidently that the sun will rise tomorrow. It is the same type of experience that allows us to affirm that a human being is mortal, that fire burns, and that everything that has a beginning also has an end. Placing human beings in our cosmic dimension reveals our predictability in our obsession with cycles and rhythms that we can predict. Yes, in the cosmic dimension, the human being is very predictable, and this is clearly proven in the spiritual domain. The idea of the end of the world was introduced to the world only in the year 395 of the Julian calendar as a unique message of Judeo-Christian origin, for it did not exist in the Kemetic schools they came to conquer. That message had the desired effect on every conquered people. The Judeo-Christians just came to open our eyes to the prophecy that all of humanity and all the other species could perish. But we know that it is not in human nature to predict or prophesy what he or she does not intend to do. In practical terms, the human being cannot do anything either to himself or to another if he or she does not first convince himself that the action he or she intends is good. Even on the individual level, we can surprise ourselves whenever we are preparing ourselves to hurt our neighbor, We first start by building a logic that will legitimize our actions. Indeed, the human being is very predictable. All the schools that came for the good of humanity taught us the moral and spiritual qualities here on earth, and the 77 commandments as a necessary guide, path, and access towards the kingdom of Wasa. They taught us reincarnation and the ways to perpetrate our becoming. Kemetic schools taught us that we will reach the kingdom of Wasa as lonely travelers, carrying with us the qualities that we have accumulated as our luggage. In contrast, nowadays Judeo-Christianity comes to teach us the end of the world, and the system that it created is now preparing us for that apocalyptic end. And since we did not like to wait, humanity has started working towards that ending. The religious system, the logic that is needed for our destruction and the destruction of the world have gone together. And so in less than 2,000 years, we have transformed this planet into a stage for mad warriors, killing both what they like and what they hate. A human being does not possess a plan that is hidden. We know that for the Judeo-Christian doctrine, the end of the world has become an ideological necessity. If the world does not end and in an apocalyptic way, this will confirm the defeat of our doctrines, of these doctrines. For them, the catastrophic end of the world is preferable to the shame that they would feel in front of humanity if they were exposed as the ones that almost destroyed humanity. When an individual or organization declares itself as guaranteeing the moral and spiritual qualities of humanity, it is very important to measure the psychological consequences of its anecdotes, laws, and attitudes on society and on its individuals. To say that the world would end is to mean that it is not necessary to protect the earth or the life on earth. Saying that the world would end is like telling a person that he or she will become very dirty very soon. Why then should they wash themselves now if they are convinced that they will become dirty very soon? This world will be what we make it. It will be the image of what we think. If we say yes to existence, this world will continue to exist because our attitude will be that of preservers of life. There is no need to wait and blame the ground you fall on if you have forgotten the stone that you stumbled on.
And you're summing up on that one there, Anthony?
Basically, what I would just say quickly in regards to this is that we need to look at where we are right now as individuals in this world and look at that which is failing us, and we need to start making the steps toward manifesting that change. And if we have a vision of the world and ourselves, we need to start manifesting that and working towards that.
Yeah. And so in order to claim back the principles of SaMa'at, then we're saying that it requires us working on self. And because society has become, or so-called become masters of some of us out there, we've been misguided. And so in order to realign ourselves, obviously then we have to be taking our knowledge or researching and seeing, as they would say, who's your master's master? Where is that information coming from? And this is where we've been given things by society, by the Western society, and we've just taken it as truth, and we're following their principles, yeah, and those principles are not coming from nowhere. It's just what they've made up to contain us. So it's important, really, like when we say we want to be educated. Educated by who? You know, that's one of the main things. You know, where is your source of information, your values, your principles coming from? As we can see, there's a short clip here that we would like to just read out. Yeah.
Yeah, this is an article written by Naba Irita, which kind of speaks on this topic. So, every life that reincarnates into the realities of our terrestrial dimension has to be equipped with the necessary means in order to face the destiny they have come to achieve. So as these young boys and girls are one day going to be responsible for the becoming and the preservation of the society that watched their birth, every traditional society preserves itself and its achievements by regenerating its long understood principles through its youth. Unlike the old traditions, new societies that are claiming to be modern, i.e. having no values and principles, have so soon violated and forgotten these basic principles of human life, while sacrificing the fate of their modern youth, the same youth that are supposed to be the future of the society.
Mm-hmm.
Every traditional society preserves itself and its achievements by regenerating its long understood principles through its youth. Unlike the old traditions, new societies that are claiming to be modern, having no values and principles, have so soon violated and forgotten these basic principles of human life, while sacrificing the fate of their modern youth, the same youth that are supposed to be the future of the society. So I will say that my experience, after being exposed to the realities of the modern societies, have been full of unanswered questions. Freedom, liberty, money. What is the goal or the destination of modernity? What future are the daydreaming leaders of these societies expecting for the youth? Those still stand as question marks as I see the future of billions of souls being broken down and rebuilt over and over, while all that is needed is to free people's spirits and hearts from the trap of their dreams, the chains of the illusions that modern ideologies insist on forcing on everyone. The individual now finds himself or herself thrown in the society without being advised about survival in life, without culture, without knowledge of nature and the self. Why then is the whole society astonished that so many individuals are committing senseless acts to the point where he or she is forced to move forward in life against their own nature, the universe, and their own fate or purpose on earth? A human without mastery of natural principles and customary or traditional values is nothing but an animal ready to be chained and dragged around, said one of my initiation elders. The absence of initiation seems to be the undesired fundamental truth that every soul in the West is suffering from, without really understanding the cause of all the governmentally or religiously fabricated adversities that they are going through. Every soul needs initiation. Everyone needs to know who they are and where they are coming from, where they are going and what for. The initiation may be the admission of an individual to the worship of a deity, to the knowledge of the mysteries of nature, or the principles of a temple in this brief life on earth. One may define it if they wish, but the hardship, the rigidity, and the challenging aspect of initiation is undoubtedly worth it. And I'll leave that there.
Okay, well, and so from there, we have a concept there within the Earth Center. It's called Eru Set, and it's one of those concepts really, right, that it's about balance, that we try to apply in our life. It's Eru Set is too much of one thing on a negative side would lead to destruction, and too much of positive also can lead to destruction. And so, like even our health, we're always just trying to maintain a balance there, really. When you over-exercise and exert yourself, it's all about trying to find the happy medium. And this is what society is not kind of it's taken away from you, because we're influenced really by the glamour, the comfort, and all the entrapment really, right, that they put in front of us really, right, to go in a different direction from where we should be going. We're taught about to be distrustful, so there's no truth there, and if there's no truth there can be no justice. So the initiation is one of those. It's not the only, but it's one of those processes that you can go through to help to reclaim back yourself. And this is why the Earth Center is valuable to a lot of us as initiates, and we appreciate Master Naba, who brought this profound knowledge to us here in the West, and this knowledge has been preserved for thousands of years, really, like after various different invaders came in, really, right, to steal this knowledge and basically plagiarized it in many different areas, really, right, and sell it back to us and create the society that we're living in now. That's why it's important in these times, really, that we're mindful, really, like of who we're adhering to and what their values and principles are. And that's why the 77th commandment is like what we would say as the perfect model, because although these commandments, they seem very simple, they're the stumbling blocks that we face in our lives every day. And if you was to look at the 77th commandment and look at your daily kind of routine, you'll be surprised how many violations that you're creating or causing every day. And that's the challenge that we face, really, in trying to redirect ourselves and to create that balance in our life. We're gonna play this next tune, and we've got our guest. He's probably waiting for us to record him now, so we just make this next tune. Again, it's another Janine, and it's a jungle, and we'll join you on the other side with our guest.
Is unfair for the ones left to scrape for the scraps is. Generations have grown in the same situation. Tribal warfare, chattel slavery, and now taxes. The people never have enough, and children are born fatherless, and families have no one to rely on. So from blood, sweat, and tears, the solution appears. The pride needs defending by a lion. Will you be the one? Valleys are the city streets. Will you be the one? Oh, to keep moving forward and never retreat in this jungle out there with so many limitations set intentionally just for us to fail. With your plans in motion and standing in your power and strength from your lioness, you're bound to prevail. The vision is for those who can endure and won't stand for injustice and oppression no more. And the journey is for everyone to share. When the lions are leading, there is nothing to fear. city streets. Will you be the one to keep moving forward and never retreat? A future for the youth must be priority. Establishing a nation where they all will be free to focus on spiritual cultivation and find themselves through ancient preparation. In this jungle out there, some people make the evil rule them nature, turning life into a rat race. And the youth them head up burn, cause the only thing they're learning from those people is how to grab you to your face. Instead of giving them guidance and encouragement, you're provoking them daily, giving rise to resent. But the tension that they're building up inside will find direction and purpose in the lion pride. Will you be the one? Oh, for the mountains and valleys are the city streets. Will you be the one? Oh, to keep moving forward and never retreat. Oh, 'cause it's a jungle out there. Will you be the one? Oh, for the mountains and valleys are these city streets. Will you be the one? Oh, to keep moving forward and never retreat. A future for the youths must be priority. Establishing a nation where they all will be free. So the lionesses rise to the occasion and nurture them with conscious meditation. In this jungle out there, life is unfair for the ones left to scrape for the scraps. Generations have grown in the same situation. Tribal warfare, chat to slavery and now taxes. The people never have enough. Children are born fatherless and families have no one to rely on. So from blood, sweat and tears, the solution appears. The pride is defended by a lion. Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you fine. Jay.
Oh, good, Jai. Good. Yeah, welcome back, or forward again, to the Wisdom of the Nile show. And we just want to say dua for gracing us with your pleasure, your presence again. Hatsani, you might want to kind of
Hushayi Hatsani, Hushayi.
yeah.
Welcome back to the Wisdom of the Nile show. Can you hear us loud and clear?
Ojayi, actually. Could you speak, please? Ojayi? Ojayi, can you hear? Ojayi?
Technical problems again. One moment. Hold the sitting sun. Hold it for me.
Ojayi said, we're going to try connect you again, yeah? See what happens.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening right now.
Yeah, it happens sometime. Yeah, it happens. Just one moment. Ojayi, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Oh, that's
Jay.
good. That's good. That's good.
Hushayi Hatsani, welcome to the Wisdom of the Nile show. Can you hear us? Ushai.
Can you hear us, Anthony? Ojai.
Something to do with this wire.
Ojai, can you hear us? Ojai.
Took it on.
It's dropping the call
It's
again.
gone again.
Apologies, really. We're just having a little bit of hiccups here with the line.
Much of a tweet been taught to love warfare. Are just moments on the journey here. We must choose what we keep or let go. Believe what you told us, seek and go know. To each his own. Each man stands alone. We each must bring a sacrifice or an offering, and what we pay will be weighed when we meet our judgment day. So keep it light as a feather and fly away.
Ojai. 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 Ojai, son.
Enough of them claim them righteous, to them say I no meat. Very little salt or sweet, true and fit and full of intelligence with great confidence just speak. But we say them secretly full of fear and so hopelessly unaware of our loving heart and peaceful thoughts. Keep the conscience clear, so we say caution to the scornful. Your pride is gonna be a downfall. Be humble when you're corrected, receive it willingly and be grateful. Because the result of one is expected to use to effectively govern decision. So without the long-term planning and precision, you're ready for the mission. To each his own. Each man stands alone. We each must bring a sacrifice or an offering, and what we pay will be weighed when we meet our judgment day. So keep it light as a feather and fly away. From the social drama, from the theaters of war, from the minstrel show karma, into full bloom and power. I am a pillar of strength, firm at the core. I and I sisters and brothers will endure. What we represent together is concentrated, pure, unselfish, raw, creation, law, order divine, 0 to 9.
Ushai Hatane, are you there?
Ujai, hear you good?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Volume.
Yeah. Can you hear us loud and clear?
I hear you loud and clear.
Okay, then, good.
Coming through good.
Duao, excellent. So, as I was saying, welcome forward to the Wisdom of the Nile show. I know this is not the first time you've been with us, but would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners, please?
Yes. Dual for having me back, Ujai, to everybody, to the listeners, and those who take time out to giving thanks and Manatel Dua for ancestors, and for Makaru, and for all of those who stand behind the work that we'll be doing here. I'm ready to also kind of commend you all, you both, and the team there that consistently brings us these insightful shows. So Duao, and I'm back to maybe contribute what I can for this topic. So yeah, my name is SaMa'at, Sakuhai. For those who may be unfamiliar, who haven't heard me on the show the last whatever time I was on here, and I'm from the New York school, but I live in Baltimore, so I'm kind of linked to the Baltimore Earth Center, and been initiated for about maybe 20 years or so. So kind of just continuing the uphill journey with with this path that we on, along with all of the other initiates and pilgrims.
Duahu Hatane, Duahu. So I'm sure everyone heard that your name is SaMa'at. Would you like to explain the meaning of your name, please? Ujjayi.
I know we were talking.
So Hatane? Ujjayi.
Ujay, can you hear? Ujay?
Ujjayi Hatane. I can just about
Ujjayi.
hear you. Sorry, one moment.
You can. Oh,
Yeah, it's coming through again
you can
now.
hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I don't know what's happening.
No, I'm not quite sure what's happening today with this.
Hey, maybe it's the
We're
topic.
sorry, we can't hear you now. I'm really.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a short in the
Oh
line.
wow.
yeah.
Yeah,
Short where?
I've just discovered a short in the wire, so I will continue to hold it, and you
Okay.
speak. So anyway, as I was asking you, I'm sure the listeners heard that your name is SaMa'at, and
Yes.
a fitting initiate to discuss the topic about reclaiming the principles of Mahat. So,
Yes.
could you just explain the meaning of your Kemetic name, please?
Oh yeah, sure, no problem. So as we know, we were talking about Mahat in the introduction of the topic, and I so happen to be given the name that attaches that divinity and that principles name to me. So Sa Mahat meaning Sa meaning or carrying the concept of son, the son, like child or son, like daughter, son. Okay, so I'm the son,
Mm-hmm.
and then Mahat is like my mother, so son of Mahat.
Okay.
So, and in essence, Mahat is carries, like we're saying, the as you introduce, that concept of the goddess elements of cosmic harmony, truth, justice, and moral integrity. But at the same time, she's a goddess, so that just embodies the principles that we're going to be discussing, and that you have already mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So those two realities is what that name embodies.
Yeah. So we chose this topic because we see the imbalance in the world, the disharmony in the world, the many, 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 many injustices that we're seeing happening in the world. So, and we hear people constantly saying, we need Mahat, we need to live Mahat. But I think that many people are confused about how to live in the principles of Mahat when the knowledge of Mahat has come from Europeans. So there is this misconception of the 42 laws of Mahat. And as we know, the Makaru has brought the initiation to the world, to humanity, along with the 77 commandments. So would you be able to elaborate or explain to people the difference between the 42 laws of Mahat as opposed to the 77 commandments?
Yes, yes. It's not unreasonable to make the association between Mahat and these commandments, or now what have been kind of reduced, if you will, to 42 negative admonitions, or even all kinds of different names given to these 42, and that you know the link between those and Mahat kind of misses a step. And what it really misses is the fact that because they originate from, or these negative confessions originate from some list of commandments that say, "Thou shalt not." When the person is deceased and they go to this hall, if you will, of judgment, as you were mentioning in the introduction, they now have to remember or recall the things that they, of that list of commandments that they had not done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you have this list of things that they happen to find with the archaeologists and anthropologists and all these people who go digging up the remains of people's dead ancestors and disrespecting our remains and our places of rest, to now discover in those tombs, written on the walls, the list of things that, the person so entombed, or, that had things that they had not committed and that they wish to remember and recall that they were able to accomplish in this life. And they happen to collect now just 42 of them. And that's what became, the list of the 42 that they were able to put together of negative, in that form of negative admonitions, negative confessions. But they really fall short of the total list of commandments that are 77. And so even if in that time we're talking about people who are noble, priests and so on, they have made sure to inscribe the things that they had not violated, and now going into be carried towards their judgment by Muhammad in the hall of judgment, which is the hall. The scales of Muhammad is there. Now you want to make sure that you want to
So Hatane,
yes.
yeah, one moment. So you just was disconnected very slightly there. So you were saying that people have misjudged.
Yes, people had misjudged what those 42 were supposed to mean in alignment with the relative to the 77 commandments that they had taken from. And so now, if you move in a person, if Mahata is the one that comes, part of her qualities and characteristics or positions that she holds as a goddess is related to taking the deceased toward that hall of judgment of Musa and Ra. And, in that hall of judgment, now you have to be able to confess, or at least give those things, those admonitions of things that you had not committed, those things that you're willing to say, or willing to acknowledge that you were able to achieve not committed among those 77 commandments. So now the link between the commandments, or in this case, negative admonition, kind of got attributed to Mahata, and then the 42 that were found. So it's a few steps that's missing between the 77 commandments and what the individual is responsible for. And that link is still, having Mahata as the kind of, linchpin, if you will, between the 2 points. But that's where the 42 comes, the 42 negative confessions come.
Mm-hmm.
And many people believe, though, that there is only just a 42, really, isn't there? Ojai, can you hear me? Ojai?
I may be breaking up again.
Yeah, can you hear
I
us
hear
now?
you fine. I hear you fine the whole time.
Yeah, I was saying that many people believe that there's only 42 of those commandments. I mean, even far as society now basically has broken it down and even give us 10 commandments, really, and many people just stand by the 10 commandments, you know, and still struggle to keep the 10 commandments, yet alone 77. And so for a priest, I think it was a priest that actually achieved that, to achieve 42, you know, that must have taken a lot of kind of hard work, really, to have that self-control and discipline, really, to manage that, isn't it?
So,
Can you hear me?
yeah.
Okay. Yes. I'm saying that in relationship to the 10 Commandments, that was reduced even further, where now the 42 negative confessions that they found were, kind of the that was left over from them finding those, negative confessions. And then on top of that, somebody was aware enough to say, okay, well, we need to make sure that we just leave them with 10 personal ones, 10 social ones that you can kind of like, see in the 10 Commandments that they left the Abrahamic religions with.
Yeah, and as you said, they're social laws, aren't they? They're not spiritual.
And yes, easy things to kind of see in yourself and maybe understand, like maybe it's wrong to kill somebody, you can avoid killing somebody. Those things that's personal to the individual is more work. And they're like, why do you want to do that, And so we can lift that burden from you, but you just take these 10 right here and go ahead, you'll be okay.
So, Hatsune, I'm not quite sure if it's your end or ours, but yeah, you kind of drifted off there. Can you hear us?
Okay. I hear you just fine.
All right.
I hear you just fine.
Okay, excellent.
Yes.
So, how do we start moving in towards reclaiming the principles of Ma'at, start living the principles of Ma'at?
You still there?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. I think really it's important to understand that for as long as we in this current era, especially in the colonized world, have been around, we don't really have a concept of what it is to live the principles of Ma'at.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a concept of it, because if we can agree that the human being is a product of their exposure, then where you think we will find an image or a model that would give us something to as a reference point to say, oh, okay, this is what the principles of Ma'at look like. When we just, in your introduction, got you explaining the injustices, the precipice that we seem to have tumbled over the edge of already, and now in free fall with all of the corruptions and all of the, various inequities that we, can see visibly and experience day to day in our life. It's a reflection of our exposure. It's saying that our exposure in itself is missing that integral element that we would call the things that we would call goodness, the things that we would call justice, the things that we would call righteousness, the things that we would call order, all those elements that we attribute to now the divinity and Neter Ma'at. So if we don't have a model for that, then what is our model? What are we currently following? How do find what we don't want? We could just look at the world and see what we don't want.
Yeah.
We could see the contrast between, what we've been given and what we've been exposed to, and the place that is putting humanity in this kind of infernal cycle of suffering and degeneration. That only now some of our souls is like starting to really cry out for a change that is even more revolutionary than the chains that were broken for the people that were enslaved and still remain colonized by the system that brought about this imbalance, this break in Ma'at, this tipping of the scales, if you will. And in order to recover something, in order to reclaim something, and to retrieve it, we have to know what it is we're looking for.
Quite right.
Yeah.
We have to know what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And if we don't know what we're looking for, then we have a problem. So one of the more practical ways of approaching that is to, really take a step back and look at, our current situation as individuals and in our families, and this the family, and then the society, and the society, and then whatever territory or country we find ourselves in, and ask ourselves, what is ailing us, because something's clearly ailing us. It can't be that we came to existence and we came into this world and there's just so much unrest to where it's news. The news is no longer news like you can watch them. Yeah, you look at the news and it's just scary. I don't even watch most of the local news anymore. It's all you're seeing is the destruction of the world. This is that's a good point, the Hipsa.
Yeah.
All you're seeing is destruction for the most part. And of course, it's sensationalism. We turn destruction into entertainment.
You see, they use
that's
it
the
as
exposure. Yep. So that's what's informing our sense of what we're supposed to be building. Just like the column you just read from Makaru, Master Nabala Musa Muradanibi, in that philosophy podium essay that he wrote, was talking about building the future, or building the world the way you project it, the way you see it.
Yeah.
And if you prophesy the end of something, then you as a human being, having no other mission than to accomplish what it is that he thinks he sees, or he or she sees, and you're gonna work toward that destruction and enjoy it because you're working toward your goal.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So the reclamation, and the recovery, and to retrieve that thing that we see so necessary, was already kind of hinted at in your introduction, is to begin to look and think about the world we want to build, and begin to work towards that world. But the interesting part about building a world is that, the world has to start with yourself.
That's right, yeah.
Right? We have to start with ourselves. So practically, I would say that one of the keys to really reconnecting with this and reclaiming this connection to the principles of Ma'at, who we say is our light, who we say is sweet because she is our light, who we say is sweet because she is our path, who we say is sweet because she is the truth, who we say is sweet because she is just. If we want to do those things, then we have to see that those elements and the seeds of those qualities being imbibed in our own characteristics. And how do we do that? Again, we're mentioning the 77 commandments. Okay, so we have maybe people who might be listening, I don't know, who may, now we're just hearing about these terms, and not realizing, the value of what was brought by uh, the Prophet Nebna Bala Musa Mauridaniday in the form of commandments, in the form of the calendar that we have, in the form of the Mandala Vendetta, in the form of his work to restore, the initiatic process, in the form of the healing that we also have access to in Ancaster. We have all these tools, and for those who may not be aware of them, you have to just go check on the Earth Center website and go get yourself familiar with some of those materials. But in order to reach and to achieve some of those principles, that goodness, that light, that truth, that justice, all of those qualities can be approached at least by recognizing and acknowledging those commandments that we've been given. That's one. And that's 77 of them. It's difficult. That's why in the beginning I says uphill, for all initiates and any human being that calls itself wanting to evolve. That's one of the steps. The 77 commandments, and trying to abide by those in every step, in every way, and trying to understand them, unpack them, and become the embodiment of the qualities that they would prevent you from crossing into. That's number one. As another principle or another aspect of that is ancestral tradition.
Yeah.
Okay, ancestral tradition. Because if we look at ourselves, everybody kind of take time, and we kind of, get in the mirror every day and scrub out, to brush our teeth and, wash our face and bathe and all this stuff. And then, and we go on and about our day. And oftentimes we may overlook the fact that, hey, I just woke up from some place. And maybe you had a dream, maybe you didn't have a dream. But when you have dreams, there's a part of yourself that goes places. Right? Some people, I don't know, they may call it the car, some people call it spirit, if you will. Some aspect of yourself, in short, goes somewhere.
Yeah.
And that place, that thing that goes and it travels here, you could go and you can see all kinds of things, maybe good things, maybe bad things, right? And you come back, and meanwhile your body is laying there sleeping. Your body's laying there sleeping. Anybody can come see you there looking like you're dead because you're sleeping. But in the process of that happening, all these adventures has also taken place. So I'll ask my children, what do you think you see when what are you seeing with when you're in that place? What do you taste with when you eat that ice cream in your dream? Whatever they're eating. What it is what do you think that you are hearing with? You laying in the bed. What do you think you're hearing with? So, a lot of times people have their questions and doubts about, man, what's this whole ancestral piece? When you yourself are a spirit as well. And that thing that hears and sees and smells and goes through all that adventure in your sleep, that's an aspect of that spiritual part going all over the place. It has its own abilities and its own capacity for experience. So to your ancestors, when they drop their body, which is death, okay, they transition. Those who are not dead relatives, hopefully, you get a chance to go to the Earth Center and find ways to get, readings and get those folks elevated and do your offerings and so on. Get a chance to raise them to ancestors. Then now, those people are just spirits. And they are also looking out for your interests. But if you want to achieve these things we call them principles of Ma'at, then it's going to take balancing the holes and the deficits that we have in our whole ancestral line, especially for us who might be in the diaspora and lost connection with our culture, especially for those of us who've lost the anchor and root of all those spiritual knowledges or elements of knowledge that would teach us about these things. We have many, many holes. And where there's holes, there's room for corruption. Where there's holes, there's room for blockages. Where there's holes, there's room for chaos, which is the countermeasure or the counteraction for Ma'at. It works against you. So in order to achieve Ma'at, then the principles of Ma'at, then you have to balance by filling in and realigning ourselves with those ancestral spirits that's also an aspect of us. Ancestors are really, in essence, a projection of our present moment into the past. And we ourselves are a projection of the ancestors into this present moment. So we're not separated from them. And if we have a whole with a part of ourselves, then how can we be balanced? How can we be true? Because, we have a hole. It's like you walking around trying to step down the stairs and you're missing your leg. You're going to fall on your face. But we don't think of our ancestors as being that integral to our balance, our existence, as walking with us, as an aspect of us. So we tend to overlook the importance of them standing and being the shoulders we lean on or the shoulders we stand on in order to progress forward. So those are two things I would say right now.
As you're saying about the importance of ancestors, and it is about, as you was said earlier on, it's about we can't make changes if we're not aware and conscious of what's going on around us. And if what we're seeing is not giving us that awareness, then it's coming like we're in limbo then, really, isn't it?
That's it. And yes, that's what, and you could see the impact of it. It might sound a little kind of weird, like what's this, ancestor stuff and commandments have to do with, fixing the practical issues of war in the world, or, financial crises, or, disease, but, these diseases that they have going around or whatever, or rumors of.
Yeah.
What has that got to do with it? But if we take into consideration that our ancestors, those people who we are a reflection of, who we descend from, who we cannot claim to be existing right now without them, if those ancestors were able to kind of take a look at nature, okay, they look at nature and they say, man, the sun rises and sets without fail. The earth and the seasons and the cycles of the earth go around without fail. We understand, look, every time you ready to get some mango season for people in the Caribbean, mango season is mango season. Right? If wherever you live in, I don't know about these temperate climate places, maybe, strawberry and apple season that's the season. Yeah. And those things come around without fail as they shift according to how the earth is becoming and its own transitions and its own, existence. However, those things are relied upon. We observe those things. We also observed it in the stars and in the heavens. When certain stars align, we see rain come. Okay, it's rain. We know that's when the order of all those things is what Mahata is responsible for. And if that order that is set in place, the things that even the Neteru have to respect and submit to the governance of Mahata and the order and the truth of the existence and what she sets. Then for us, we see the world in this particular time. You don't know what season is going to be here. Sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's hot, it's raining, right? The rivers are flowing and weird, all kinds of calamities in the environment. We have to say maybe it's something about respecting that water that also has an effect on our environment
Yeah.
and our conditions, both social and environmental, meaning existentially, are connected. Such that if we are imbalanced as individuals, as a species that's on the planet, called being involved or engaged in so much disharmony,
So many.
eventually it will have an effect on our environment as well. It will be imbalanced, and that imbalance will manifest in in whatever result that see fit to set the balance again. That's why they show Neeps, I think you were trying to reference Lady, what do you call Lady Justice
Oh yes,
with the blind.
Yeah.
This is blind, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Justice is blind, and it's on some levels it don't have any kind of ethical or moral ties.
No, there's no value there at all, really, is there?
You're there. You're not a favorite. There's no favorite. It will set the balance. Meaning now the cosmic order that's supposed to be of the Neteru and the gods, if you will, were able to establish themselves in the truths of whatever principles they over. If that order is upset, then hey, we're gonna make sure it's straight. We're gonna make sure it's straight. And so for human beings now, it's for us to try to align, which is what we promised we would do, is to mirror their world and to try to align with the model that we see,
That's
which
correct.
follows the order of Ma'at. So why should we not follow the order of Ma'at in order to reestablish the balance in our world? You see?
but as you said, also it's what we've been exposed to. So if society is teaching people this YOLO life, you only live once, and so therefore you do whatever you want to do. When in Rome, do as the Romans do, and all of them.
There's no
With
consequence.
those things, then there's no consequences to your actions. Then they're constantly on that downhill, degenerative journey. So, and also, as you said, the Statue of Liberty, the scale is not balanced.
Your Lady Justice.
Yeah, the scale is there and it's unbalanced. So that's setting the scene for humanity to, that subliminal message that it's sending. And this is what they do through their news channels, the newspapers. They're constantly bombarding us with the imbalance of what they want to achieve and bring an end to this world in order to justify what they have written into their so-called holy books.
And the thing about it is that you can't really blame them for what they see as profitable, because they have their, Makaru had to say every goal, every value has its goal, or every goal has its value, and every value has its intelligence. Meaning that, like, if you see they set the goal for themselves to have the ambition, to be, I don't know, power mongers and, megalomaniacs and have all the resources under their pillow, like, that helps them sleep good at night, then they will adopt the values that will allow them to achieve that. Okay, and those values, according to that goal, is actually correct because it serves their goal.
Yeah,
and it was with that intention and with that ambition that they realize that human beings who would aspire towards something or a model that puts every human being back on a level playing field of again equanimity and justice, okay, of being respected as an element or as an aspect of nature, not higher than the animals and so on, but just serving your function. I mean that kind of completely upends any megalomaniacs, ambitions. Like, come on, are you crazy? I don't want to do that. It don't work for me. And so those goals for him are negative, but that's Ma'at.
Yeah.
That's what Ma'at is about. It's about, being the light, being truth, being good, and having congruency, being cohesive, having coherence. That's how the logical mind works. Everything that works with alignment and cohesion is following that principle. And that's where you work. The system is like, no, indeed. We don't need that. We need confused people. We need frightened people.
That's
We
good.
need people that's depraved and degenerate. That's what we actually profit from.
So it's design. It's a design system.
Yes, it's the design of the system.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like all the design clothes and all the designers things that they give us to distract us really like from where we should be heading towards,
Mm-hmm.
And as we know really,
Yes.
nothing don't just happen now. This is planned. That's why we can say it's a pandemic of what's going on now, because they don't just get up and just do things. We know that these things that they've looked into, they've researched it, and now they're implementing it really. So we have to question really, like, do they really want a balance really within the world?
But we know they don't. This is it. We know that they don't. So, and I believe that most individuals, from a child upwards, knows when something is wrong.
Yeah.
So when we look at the animals living harmoniously with the earth, how do we, rather than putting ourselves above animals, how do we redress that balance? I'm asking you, Hatane. And we're coming up to the end of the show soon, so yeah.
Okay. You put a heavy question on the end there.
You've got a lot of time to answer.
No, we need. This is it. As Makaru says, one does not change the world by wanting to change our neighbor. So charity starts with the self, doesn't
With
it?
the self. Yeah, and I mean, really, it's interesting that the human being, in that same thing you just read from Makaru, about the condition of the human being that will eat poison food to keep from starving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very fragile and humiliating position, because it's so true. We would do it.
We're consuming poison food or it's not even food. Yeah. What they're giving us is a deception of what food should look like.
You see?
Yeah, and we're consuming it knowing that it's poison. The medication that they give you, they're telling you the side effects, which is going to kill you, but yet we still take it.
You still do it.
And
they instill the fear in you. They capitalize on your laziness. They capitalize on your unwillingness to have discipline. And all those things. But look at this. Even the animal. I've seen animals that we would throw like something we call food out of the out to them, and the animal won't even eat it.
Yeah.
You see, so maybe as a start, we need to pay attention, just like our ancestors did. We pay attention to nature.
That's right.
And pay attention to what the natural elements, including the animals around us, have been doing in order to stay within the harmonious
the boundaries really
zone.
that's been said.
Yes, within the harmonious zone or context, confines of reality, which hey, it's challenging, but when you cross it, you get to see how the results go. It just goes down and down and down. You push these trees over so you can have toilet paper. Then you have toilet paper, you flush the toilet. Now you got it sticking in the toilet, you plug the toilet up now, you got clogs. So you got to go get the plumber to do, and it just goes and goes and goes. Oh, we run it when this pandemic thing start. the first thing they did here in the United States, everybody running and fighting for toilet paper. Like,
Yeah.
oh, wait,
It was crazy, wasn't it?
you see, well, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you look at nature, you will see many examples of the harmony
That's correct.
that animals themselves manage to live with and harmonize and be in a symbiotic kind of a relationship. No animal is just taken from nature without a need. Okay?
There's a natural
So these are
order.
the things.
There's a natural order there, isn't there?
So can I just ask you, Hatane,
Mm,
is
yes.
it really possible to find that balance living in a society that's destined for destruction?
What a loaded question.
Or do
Yeah,
we need to
that,
just
you know.
find our way back home?
Well, you know, the truth is, if it's already destined for destruction, I don't know what kind of harmony you can find outside of the one that you try to establish within yourself, which is difficult. Yeah, because look, the truth is, if you have an idea of or an aspiration of returning to the principles of Mahat in whatever small ways that you can do that, you're gonna find yourself as a stranger.
Yes.
You're gonna be a stranger. Yeah, you're gonna be a loner.
Yeah,
You know, this weird guy, this weird lady, blah blah blah. You know, she's, I don't know. Yeah. So now, if you have a society and you know, a place, community where you are, that is consistently engrossed in those things that are, you know, driven by chaos and driven by destruction, then you know, it becomes more difficult to envision yourself being able to evolve in that environment in a real and a tangible or appreciable way. You know, it just becomes more difficult, which is why, you know, we have the chance and the opportunity as initiates, and hopefully other people, you know, who may be interested in taking that step to expose themselves to communities and to culture.
That's right.
Back in Merita, you know, and in those environments where people are living by principle and by and embodying those principles of Mahat in the day-to-day life, where you will see people not waste, be very resourceful, try to maintain, you know, the environment that they're living in, and respecting all of the elements in that environment, respecting things in that space relative to, you know, those energies and nature and the elements of nature, both seen and unseen, which also Mahata is also responsible for order on all levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Divine, cosmic. And the thing is, you mentioned difficult, and my father always teaches us that there's no such word as can't. So therefore, just because something is difficult, it doesn't mean that you cannot overcome it. And you also should strive your best to overcome whatever difficulties that one is facing. So we find ourselves living in this society. The majority of us didn't choose to live in this society. So, and let's face it, the majority of us are not going to be able to just get up and leave either. So, the alternatives, what alternatives are there for us to start to make the change, regardless of how difficult it may be? Life is difficult regardless. So, what would be your parting words of wisdom to give to people?
Yeah, I like a question that come back full circle because you know it's like I was pointing out in the beginning, you know, and those will be my parting words and advice, and in fact the advice that I'm heeding myself, you know, outside of getting the chance to go home to Merita and, you know, spend time and, you know, be in the culture, you know, for the time that I can. I live in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I live in the belly of the beast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if there's a belly, then I live in it. You know,
Yeah.
and in that position of challenge and difficulty, you know, like I came at the beginning, try to work as best as I can to uphold those commandments, to which Mahata has been linked, and those 77 commandments is the pillar that I hold to,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of the values that come with an initiate being in the Kem or the tradition of the Kemu and an Umtam education.
Mm-hmm.
So initiation has been kind of like an oasis for me in the midst of the chaos and in the desert of impoverishment,
Yeah.
moral impoverishment and spiritual
Spiritual.
decay
Yeah.
that we find ourselves in. So for me and for anybody who wishes to aspire toward values and towards principles that resonate with goodness, resonate with harmony, um, and light and truth, then start there. And of course, make sure you try to find your connection with your ancestors, because those values and those elements is what at least you can hold on to and shine the light wherever you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because wherever you are, the light of a candle, is the light of the candle. No matter how dark, it's still enough for you to see the path. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
you shine your light.
Absolutely.
So as you're
Beautiful.
saying, it's about self, you being what you want the world to be, so that others can see you, the world
Uh-huh.
that they want to see or want to be a part of.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a chance that you can inspire. You don't walk, wisdom and the flame of knowledge is not, does not diminish itself by being shared. In fact, it brightens. That's the
Yeah.
one thing you can share without losing it. Knowledge and the wisdom and the flame of knowledge and wisdom. You
Mm-hmm.
share it, and
Mm-hmm.
you inspire and light the path, and then others, hey man, those who are called, and inspired, to that kind of thinking and resonate with that. Well, hey man, what you doing? And then that's how you spread and you make your light brighter, wherever you are.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's a possibility.
Mm. They say the only constant thing is
Absolutely.
life is change, and this is what we've
Uh-huh.
got to try to apply to our life to make those changes, to evolve.
Uh-huh.
But some people, for some reason, there's that comfort zone of just staying in that one place, even though they know they're going down. That fear
Yeah.
of moving, it frightens them to make that forward step.
It's easier to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to move downhill than it is uphill, and society is breeding millions of lazy people,
Mm.
especially during 2020. So
Mm.
yeah, we know the uphill battle, the uphill journey is a struggle, but we also know
Mm-hmm.
it's more rewarding because
Yeah.
as spiritual beings having a human experience,
Mm-hmm.
once we rid ourselves of this vessel that we're in this lifetime, we have to come back again. And
Yep.
what we do in this lifetime sets us up for the next reincarnation, doesn't it?
Yep. Exactly. You don't have time to, if you realize that you're gonna come back, because as we said, the 42 that the priests and those noble people included in their tombs, it's 42 of them that they managed not to do, but it's 77 total. So what do they do because they failed the other 35 commandments?
Mm-hmm.
You see,
Mm-hmm.
that means you have to come back. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you have to come back to work on that, and that's our ancestors were aware of that process. This is why they wrote the 42, at least the ones they didn't do, so that they can remember they have these other ones to work on, and when they're going to work on it, except in another life. So all of this, saying that the the balance and the principles of Ma'at works across the span of time, regardless of time. Because now, even in your incarnations, you're coming back to the balance you managed to keep, and the truth that you managed to live in each lifetime. So it's really a deep concept, a deep principle.
It is. And it's not something that can be fully discussed on a radio show, and it's something that one will definitely learn through initiation.
Yes. Unfortunately, we have that initiation accessible to the world, if you will. And those who are interested can find many materials to get started on that journey, because it is a journey.
Absolutely. So I'll be giving out the details in regards to that after.
Okay,
so,
good.
Yeah. So, Duawu Hatane, SaMa'at.
Okay, Nini, it's been a pleasure. Really enjoy talking to you all and sharing what I could.
Likewise.
And as I always say, anything that is coming from me that's correct and helpful, and I just thank my ancestors, and I show my appreciation for my master, my teachers, for imparting that to me. And anything that's an error, that's on me. So dua for the time, and thank you.
Dua. And we look forward to having you back on at some later stage in time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we do appreciate
anytime.
Dua for that.
Nete dua.
Okay. Nini. We talk soon.
Okay.
To listeners. Okay.
And that was our Hatani SaMa'at. Giving us not his perspective, but the teaching from the Herb Center that's helped to balance us really to have a positive view.
Okay, the Earth Center. Sorry, Nahibsa. We never give out the website address.
No.
Yes, so initiation. So www.theearthcenter.org. And for those in North America, and you will find the www.theearthcenteruk.com for those in the UK. You will find us on all social media, on Facebook, the Earth Center, the Earth Center UK, Earth Center Montreal, Earth Center Coventry. You will find us there. You will find us on Instagram at Kebtah, KEBTAH, on the Earth Center UK on Instagram. You'll find our channel, the Earth Center channel, on YouTube. You will find that the many temples that we have, if you contact us through the website, that you have an opportunity to sit in on the classes, one class each, to get a taster of what initiation offers. You'll also find study groups in some areas for those who are not ready to embark upon initiation at this moment in time. They can enter study groups. You will find the philosophy podium on the websites, and also you will find, as Hatani SaMa'at said, the calendar, and it's within the calendar that you find the days in which are most favorable astronomically to honor your ancestors. And ancestral veneration is a major part of Kemetic traditional indigenous spirituality. You'll also find on the website the Code of Human Behavior, the 77 Commandments, and the Book of Purification. And the Book of Purification assists you to cleanse yourself spiritually in order to approach the divine world. And also you will find the oldest map of the cosmos, the mandala of Dendera. All of these are available to purchase on the websites www.theearthcenter.org, www.theearthcenteruk.com. Telephone number for the London School for anybody else interest is 0208 558 3678, and the Coventry School is 024 626 6859, and the email address to contact us for any information is enquiries-uk@theearthcenter.org.
Wow. And just a quick summary to say, changes, is what we need to make in our lives. And just put that one step forward and take it from there.
And a quote from Karu Master Nabala Musa Denebig is, we cannot ask the world to change, but we can change the world by presenting ourselves as an image of the world we want to build.
And we see also Nebnaba Irita said also in one of his articles that the Western world really has started a fight with the wrong against nature, a fight that they can't win. So when we look at that, we see the reciprocity then really of how the balance is going to come about, that with all their destructive means that they have, or they think that they have to control the world, nature itself, is the perfect model. It ecologically, it does what it does. It affects our ecosystem really that stabilize everything for us. So when mankind decides to fight against nature, that was one battle that he should never even have conceived in his mind, because nature defines who we are, not we defining what nature really is. And that's what man is trying to do, the Western world is trying to do, is to control what is outside of their control, as opposed to having the respect, the humility to know that really, that all that we need to know is already there. We can't create what is already there. We come with nothing and we're going to go back with nothing. But nature would still be there,
So balance.
Yes.
Harmony.
Yes. Truth. Justice. Integrity. Honesty.
Reciprocity.
Yeah.
Balance.
Yeah. And these are the principles, as you would say,
the principles of Ma'at.
Yeah. And on that note, we want to again give thanks to Bless for giving us this platform, and we want to say acknowledge our ancestors in the divine world for giving us this day, so that we can see the next day, And so on that note,
and we acknowledge Nebnabala Musa Denebig for giving us the knowledge to impart to yourselves, for us to create a better world. And we give thanks to our guest speaker, SaMa'at Sakuhai.
And my co-earth, say Duawu for being here.
Mini Duawu Nebsa. So Iriru, Katasta and Jody will be in the seat next, strong, as them say.
The hot seat.
Yeah. Yeah. So Iriru.
Okay.
sorrow. Woe to the down presser. They'll eat the bread of sad tomorrow. Woe to the down presser. They'll eat the bread of sorrow. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Guiltiness rest on their conscience. Oh yeah, oh yeah. These are the big fish who always try to eat down the small fish. Just a small fish. And I tell you what, they would do anything to materialize their every wish. Oh yeah, but woe to the downtrodden. They eat the bread of sorrow. Woe to the downtrodden. They eat the bread of sad tomorrow. Woe to the downtrodden. They eat the bread of sad tomorrow. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Guiltiness. Oh yeah, oh. They eat the bread of sorrow. Every day.
Why do we sign every Stearns and
He's the man of wisdom. He's the man who lives by faith. And not by fear. His greatest wealth is the richness of his soul. He's the man who lives by faith and not by fear. He's the double-edged sword. He's the double-edged sword. He's the key to unlock the treachery. Follow truth and you shall find him. He's the definition of humanity. He's the beginning and the end. He's the prophet never far away. From far away. Far away. From far away. West Africa. From far away. Prophet never far away. La Musa. Far away. Far away. Prophet from far away. Prophet never far away. From far away. From far away. Prophet from far away. Bob Marley says, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophet while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We gotta fulfill the boy. Come to Maheru. 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 You got your own told story. I'm from far away. I'm from far away.